So I think the first conversation I ever had about public health was with you because it's not something that's talked about. And
No.
unfortunately, in the black community, we don't talk too much about any type of health.
Yes. Yeah. And there are a lot of theories around that, around Black people and health behavior and health seeking habits, actually.
Let's talk
Um,
about
so the number one is sometimes it's known as Sojourner syndrome. Sometimes but most commonly it's known as John Henryism.
it.
So John Henry was like it's like an old fable where it's like it's John Henry versus the steam engine, and so they're both trying to reach the end game, like run through a tunnel. And what happens is John Henry, he's Black. He works so hard, he defeats the steam engine, but then he dies immediately, like his heart gives out. So the euphemism is that like Black people will work themselves to death, essentially. It's like this high effortful coping. So instead of necessarily dealing with the health related problems or the stress related problems that you have in at the minute, you think to yourself, I don't have time to be focused on this. Like, I've got to take care of my family. I got to take care of my kids. Like, I just need to pull through. And you work so hard that you actually give out before you're supposed to, essentially. And it's kind of like what occurs when you have to deal with the chronic nature that is racism in America. Um, our effort has to be higher than other people's to get through.
So outside of race, and maybe it's only race, why do you think John Henryism is such a big thing in our community?
Um, I think it's a big thing in our community because it's not a big thing with America in general. Because America pretends wants to pretend like there's not an issue.
Hmm.
So I now have to pretend like there's no issue, even noting that the issue here is that I have to work 2 times harder to get to the same place. But unfortunately, I don't have the space to talk about that. Um, Nor will I get validation from the powers that be in order to get there. So I got to keep going. We don't have time um, to ponder. Like it's always like, they talk about like generations where the parents struggled, but now they're able to give their child the life they wish they had, kind of thing. And then that
Hmm.
child has the ability to sit there because they're not out here surviving, right? They're not in survival mentality. So they can sit here and really just ponder and think like what I'm able to do in school, like I'm getting paid to think, right? But if you're always in survival mode, you can't do that. And I think for our community writ large, like we've been in survival mode so long. So we don't have the ability to, like, you have to keep pushing. There's
Yeah,
no other
I
way.
agree with you. Like, if I'm worried about putting food on my table, I'm not worried
Yeah.
about how I feel while doing it because I know I have to eat to live, and I can worry about this other stuff later, which I won't ever worry about it. I'll just let it tear me apart.